starting. Turn the TV down just a little bit.
Michael, turn the TV down.
All right, Mayor, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
All right, well, it's the witching hour, and you've got, looks like 8 of your council members, and you are live, you are recording, you've got your empty public viewing room. You are set to go.
Thank you very much. If we could begin this evening by calling to order our public hearing on the proposed property tax rate. You've seen the notice in the paper, and it's in your packet. The proposed property tax rate is currently, our current property tax rate is 6.5 cents per $100 of evaluation. Our proposal to you is to leave that unchanged at 6.5%, or excuse me, 6.5 cents per $100 of evaluation. That is actually taking advantage of the 4% real dollar increase that House Bill 44 allows us to take without being subject to recall. The only requirement to take this rate, which will generate about $170,000 in additional revenue in the following fiscal year. The only requirement is to hold this public hearing. And then later on in this, in the council meeting agenda, there's an action item to have first reading of the ordinance that will enact this property tax rate for which we're holding the public hearing. So, Laurie, is there anyone from the public signed up to make comment?
No, sir.
Thank you. And as Andrew pointed out, it looks like our public viewing room is empty. Having the public viewing room available was a requirement to be able to hold these meetings in person, or excuse me, via Zoom. This is what Frankfurt was doing, to be able to hold their meetings by Zoom. The General Assembly just gave us that flexibility without having the public viewing room. So we'll go back to our normal Zoom operations. The General Assembly's recognized that's going to be important to everyone. So if there are no public comments concerning the public hearing on the proposed property tax rate, we will close the hearing. And we'll now call the council meeting to order. And if we could ask everyone to stand for more than a moment of silence, it being just 2 days after our country acknowledged the sobering anniversary of the 20 years after 9/11. And if we could take a moment of silence to honor those who gave their lives in that incident. And then David, would you lead us in the pledge to the flag, please?
Sir. Shall we pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, David. Laurie, it looks like we have an electronic version of the roll call, so we can dispense with actually calling the roll. Item 3, approval of the minutes. If everyone would like to look the minutes over for any possible corrections or additions. And if not, I'll entertain a motion that they be approved.
So moved.
Thank you, Willow.
Second.
Thank you, Connie. And if there are no corrections, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Thank you. Minutes are approved. Each member should have also received our latest deck register in your packet. If you could indicate if you received that. Thank you. Well, under public comments, I am delighted that we have someone here with us for public comments, a very familiar face to the council. And Rita, are you with us?
Yes, sir. Let me get out of the way.
All right, Tim. Hi there. Hey, Rita.
Hey, I'm over here at Tim's house doing this, so kind of bear with me.
All right.
The reason that I wanted to approach the Georgetown City Council is regarding a Dropbox. I hope that you all got some information in your packets. Our General Assembly passed a law, the Infant Safe Act, and a girl or a woman can leave their baby 30 days or younger at a safe designated place. This can be a place that is manned 24 hours, such as the EMS building or fire station or police station. And there is also another option. It's called a drop box. And what this is a box that is attached to a building that is manned for 24 hours. Again, such as the EMS, the police, the fire. There is a company in Indiana that makes drop boxes. It is called Safe Haven Boxes. And what it is, it's attached. They come and they attach the box to the building. And there's 55 boxes in Indiana. Right now, there are only 2 in Kentucky. And we thought it would be nice to give the option to have one in Georgetown. And what we would like to see is to have a box attached to the EMS building. This gives a little bit more privacy. I know that a woman or a girl can bring their child to the fire station, EMS or whatever, but this would be a little bit more private. And what a woman does is that they simply put the child in the box. The box locks behind them. So the baby is safe and secure in the box. When the box door is shut, an alarm goes off in the building and also to 911. That way you cannot reach in there and grab the baby back. Once the baby is in the box, then it is safe and it is secure. What happens then to the child is just like it would be if it was handled personally. The child would go to the hospital to make sure that it is fine, that it doesn't need medical attention, and then social services is contacted. The cost of the installation is between $10,000 and $15,000. And I know that building inspection would have to be called in. Everything would have to be precise to make sure that the box was put in safely, both for the building and for the box. This has been brought before the magistrates Rick Hofstadter has been working with the magistrates, and Mayor, I think that the judge has been talking to you about it. I've been talking, I know I talked to Karen. And it would be really nice to have this option to, and if we never need it, that would be awesome. But if we ever needed it, it'd be great to have. Like I said, the cost is between $10,000 and $15,000. And the cost would be completely paid for by the board of the Not Alone Pregnancy Center. So it would not, nobody would have to tweak their budget. It would not come out of the county budget. It would not come out of the city budget. And what it is that that's where we would, we're just there to pay for it. The requirements are that there has to be a signed contract by either the mayor or the Georgetown Fire Department, whichever one of you all wants to take responsibility. It is a signed contract between either the Georgetown Fire Department or you, Mayor, whichever one. I did not give them any of your all's information to be contacted until I ran it past you all. Again, that's where we would step out of the picture. We're just simply providing the money to have it done. There is a $200 a year maintenance fee. Again, when the invoice comes in, it goes to either you, the mayor, or it goes to the Georgetown Fire Department, and we foot the bill. So that's the only thing that I'm bringing to you all, is that, do you all have any questions? Do you all have any concerns? And can we move forward with providing this service? It would be a service provided by the county, the city, and the private sector, to simply provide the service of allowing a woman to safely, she's not abandoning her baby, she's just giving her baby a chance. So do you have any questions or concerns?
Rita, I was pleased to learn that you were bringing the concept to the council. As you say, there aren't that many in Kentucky yet, but they've really gotten traction in some other places.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly something that we'd be receptive to learning more about and considering. In fact, I think Devin indicated to me we've had another not-for-profit approach the city with the same idea. So there is a sense of need in the community, because volunteer organizations are stepping forward to help with these things. So I think your offer is very generous and something that we'd be interested in learning more about.
Okay. Okay.
And I'll open the floor for council comments or questions too.
Mayor, I have a question. If you've talked to the judge, what's his feelings about it?
In general, we think it's a very positive thing, and some time ago, Kentucky removed all of the penalties associated with someone who wanted to give up a baby. And but Rita's right. Even though those penalties have been removed, that action still requires a direct interaction for the mother and someone from law enforcement. This provides some protection, some anonymity for someone where that might be very, very important. They're wanting to do the right thing for the child, and that's what we're celebrating here. I think that's the point, Rita.
Yes.
So is the law, like, is the way the Kentucky law written kind of preventing this a little bit, or are we able to work around that or with that?
No, in fact, the law, I think, supports this.
Okay.
Deb, is that correct? It anticipates a scenario such as this and removes all criminal penalties for it.
Right.
Okay.
And like you mentioned, Mayor, it provides that sense of anonymity for a person surrendering their baby who requires anonymity. This is the only other safe option for the baby, because otherwise, and I hate to be negative, but we've seen incidents where babies have been abandoned and frozen to death or drowned or anything like that. So this provides a safe, anonymous way to surrender the child. So I think that the legislature's intent was to avoid those scenarios where anonymity could only be achieved in a way that was detrimental to the baby. The statute's also written to protect the government agency providing the 24-hour facility. So it's pretty well written, and I think we're going to start to see a lot of Kentucky cities and counties participating.
Mayor, what is it that we need to do to move forward? I think it sounds like a really good idea. Right now, like Devin said, they're in a car seat or a basket. They're set outside or as close to the door as possible. This way, they're kept warm. And like you said, the alarm goes off and that kind of thing, and makes it that much more safe for the baby. And I like the anonymity a part of it as well. So what do we need to move forward if council's in agreement?
If council's in agreement with, of course, we can find, that's not a huge amount of funding. And on the finance committee, you all can help us find that much money. I think it would be a case of sitting down with Judge Covington now that we're more serious about it and the council's involved now. And actually, if that is the preferred location, Rita, discuss that with the EMA director, the folks who are down there working every day, and actually get an architect over here to look at the building and where and how, and start looking at the steps to make it a reality rather than a conversation.
And Mayor, even if Not Alone Pregnancy Center and or maybe a partnership with another nonprofit, if they're interested, even if it's funded through an outside group, if the city is contracting with the company, we'll probably be looking at procurement requirements. I'm not sure how many of these providers are out there, but I think based on the cost, it might have to go out to bid, even though it's technically being funded through an outside agency. So just something to keep in mind as we consider it.
Okay. But it sounds like there's across the board support for the concept of exploring this and moving forward with implementing it. Okay.
Thank you all. Thank you. I mean, this sounds really exciting, and thank you all for listening to me and thinking about this opportunity to serve our community.
Rita,
Thank you, Rita, for all you do.
Yeah. Connie, I'm sorry I walked all over that, but that you're exactly right.
Okay, you were tippy-toeing. It's good.
Rita, I'll get with the judge, and he'll need to report to fiscal court. I'll need to report back to the council, but we'll start this conversation.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Anything else you can do for us tonight, Rita?
No, just, don't forget Marvin.
No, we never will. Thank you, Rita.
Thank you, hon.
All right. Let's see. We also have approval of a public event, I think. Laurie, is there someone on the line to talk about that?
We have Mr. Josh Cromer on the line, I believe. Josh, are you there?
Me. Can you
Yeah,
hear me?
Josh, run, drop, and roll.
It's going to be the stop, drop, and run 5K.
Stop, drop, and run. I kind of butchered that, didn't I?
That's all right. We'll get it. We'll make it a name.
Good. Their application is in your packet along with their insurance information, and it looks pretty complete.
Motion, Mayor.
Thank you.
Second, Mayor.
Thank you, Greg. Any questions for Josh? If not, all in favor say aye.
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 Are there any opposed? There you go, Josh. Good luck.
I appreciate it. Thank you guys so much.
You're
Have a
welcome.
great day.
Let's see. Under mayor's comments, just a couple of them tonight. But obviously we're back to Zoom, and I just want to remind the council that we did really good work together when we were over Zoom before. So we can do this, and I don't expect us to slow down a bit. And we'll keep scheduling meetings and ways to talk with each other and communicate with each other. And I just want to make sure that I'm real optimistic about what we're going to get done, and the fact that it's over Zoom is just something we'll work with. So, but it's good to see everybody over Zoom tonight. Wanted to update the council a little bit on the comprehensive plan. They are putting together a steering committee, the broad steering committee that gives direction to the overall plan. And the makeup of that steering committee, they've asked that we have 3 council members and 3 members of the fiscal court to serve on that steering committee. Some council members may have served in that role before. Then the mayor and the judge will be ex officio members. There'll be citizen at large members, and then some, Greg, I think they always stir in some of the board members of the planning commission or commission members for that steering committee. So if you all stew on that, and if anybody would specifically like to be involved, let me know. We're going to get that fogged up and going here pretty soon. Also, I'd like to report to council when we get to swear in either a new recruit class for fire department or a new police officer. And this morning I swore in Caleb Hartley. They say no relationship to Andrew Hartley, but we did have a new officer sworn in this morning. I want to let the council and the public know we have our super recycling day out at Toyota on October the 16th from 9 to 2. So all that stuff you've got saved up in the garage, that's the time to get rid of it. Kind of in hand with that, the state is working with the county on a tire amnesty day. Actually, it's days. It begins September the 30th and lasts for 3 days for anyone that's got old tires, even tires on rims, surprisingly enough. But they'll take those at the state garage on East Main Street Extended. That's something that only comes around about every 3 or 4 years. So if you have a friend that's got a garage that needs cleaning out, that's a good opportunity for them. We just finished up our Festival of the Horse, and a lot of you got to be downtown. Huge crowd, beautiful weather, and folks seem to be in a really upbeat spirit. The thing that I wanted to draw to your attention is the great work that our departments, your departments do during the festival. The public works, the place is kept clean, it's kept litter free, and many of you may have seen Facebook posts on Sunday evening of the downtown area, and it looked like it had been completely spit shined and was complete. You would never know there had been a major event there for the preceding 3 days. So that police department, I saw police officers on foot, on bicycle, and on horses. And it was a really good representation for police and fire, since they're involved with the chili cook-off. I think that the most touching scene that I saw was your Georgetown Police Department mounted patrol. There are 3 officers mounted that they do all with volunteer labor and contributions. There are no tax dollars involved with that mounted patrol thing. They were in the parade, and at the end of the parade, those horses lined up at Mulberry behind the sawhorses there at the end. And the crowd of people that lined up with young children and babies, these horses are so gentle and so quiet around crowds that babies were putting their little hands on the horses' noses and on the star on their forehead. And just the greatest image of the whole festival was that interaction with our first responders, and just a very positive thing. So wanted to mention that. There was an event during the festival on Friday night during the Colt and Filly review. Typically that's all children, but it was special this year in that the Wounded Warriors had a float in that parade Friday night. And that was appropriate given that the grand marshal for our parade Saturday night was first responders, not a person, but first responders. So the Wounded Warriors had a float filled with flags and wounded warriors that made it down the street, and they stopped in front of the courthouse and had a flag folding ceremony. And then those representatives of Wounded Warriors brought the flag down and presented it to the city, presented it to me for the city. It was a very, very humbling moment. I would like to point out, and I'd especially like to thank Mark Showalter for doing that ceremony with me. Mark served our country, and I did not have the opportunity. I had the opportunity. I did not serve my country in the manner that Mark did. So Mark participated in that ceremony for me, and while I held the flag, Mark had the honor of returning the Wounded Warriors salute. So it was a very emotional moment. Mark, thank you for participating in that. That flag that was presented to the city will be encased in a proper flag case and will be left in City Hall as a memento to the citizens that it was presented to. A different note, Tree Week. We are going to celebrate Tree Week in Georgetown. We're working with the University of Kentucky Forestry Department and Urban Landscape Department to celebrate Tree Week, October the 9th, excuse me, October the 9th through the 16th. There'll be 4 or 5 communities, Berea, Paducah, Hazard, Lexington, Georgetown are the communities selected to do this Tree Week. And we'll have a series of activities that week. The library is going to step up real big and help us with some activities and readings. I will say that volunteers are needed. And if anyone is intrigued by the idea of us hosting a Tree Week and the activities, if you get a hold of Arlene, you can collaborate with her about Tree Week. And then finally, I'll just mention that today, Judge Covington gave his State of the County address. A number of you were there. Judge did a nice job. He just had a bunch to talk about. There's so much going on. But I thought it was the fact that he talked about cooperation and how much we work together. And he talked about commitment and things that I see from the county and the city, but I thought it was a good address today. So that ends mayor comments. Any questions about any of that whole barrage of stuff? Okay, item 7 on your agenda having to do with the airport is a resolution accepting a grant.
Mayor, I'll make a motion for approval unless there's a presentation. I read through some of the information.
No, just a great opportunity, David, to do some runway improvements and a pretty big dollar amount, 187,000.
Mayor, I'll second that.
Thank you. If there are no questions about that, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. That carries. Item 8 on your agenda, GMWSS. And I see Chase is here. And Chase, you've just got a series of purchase orders, don't you?
We have 5 purchase orders and 2 agreements tonight.
Okay. However you'd like to go at those.
I can run through those and then I'm happy to answer any questions. First, we have a purchase order for leak eliminators, the amount of $21,893.24. This is actually a pass-through cost that we are doing on behalf of the Lanes Run Business Park Authority for a sewer line extension in the business park. Again, we're performing this work at the direction and approval of Jack Connor, just to help expedite this service so it doesn't cause any delays in the business park. It involves approximately 200 feet of new gravity sewer that's needed in the park. So we have a purchase order for that amount, and that's done through our annual services contract that's bid. Second, we have a purchase order for GRW engineers for continued work on the wastewater plant 1 upgrade and expansion. This purchase order is for work performed in June and July in the amount of $40,357.07. We have a purchase order for the Jack Doheny companies in the amount of $459,787. This is a very long-awaited purchase order for a new combination sewer, vacuum, and jet truck. Our current vac truck is about 12 years old. The storage tank, as well as the drivetrain, the engine, the brakes, the axles, are all past their service life. So we're in desperate need of this piece of equipment. This equipment is to a sewer utility what a fire truck is to a fire department. That's how important it is to our operation. If you have a sewer backup in your building, your house, your place of business, this is the equipment that we will use to stop that backup. This is a budgeted item, and we've been saving money for about 4 years for this purchase. And it's finally here. So we're excited. We're making the purchase through Sourcewell to meet procurement code. That's similar to the, I would compare it to the state unit price contract, only this is a national, essentially unit price contract for purchasing. Next, we've got purchase order for Judy Construction. This is our 4th invoice on the wastewater plant expansion. And this is for work completed in June. Amount of this pay request is $595,415.35. Then we have a first of our 2 agreements. This is for Epic Cellular, and this is for phone line replacement at wastewater plants number 1 and 2. Cost of maintaining these landlines has increased dramatically now that it's not a requirement for service. And so we've done some shopping around, and we feel like our best option for getting the service we need for phone lines at the plants is through Epic. And it's going to prove at a substantial savings and annual savings, $8,700 a year. And that's for switching from what we found through our IT folks doing some shopping for us. And finally, we have a service agreement and a purchase order for 4IQ Solutions for purchase of software related to, it's called DigTix, and it's related to location of underground utilities through the 811 service. So when we get a call from a contractor or homeowner, anybody that's saying they're going to be digging and they call, we go out and locate any of our infrastructure, water lines, sewer lines that is underground. We locate that for them so they don't hit it when they dig. This is just bringing that work order system as part of our overall electronic work order system. We're adding the line location services with this software. We actually believe that having this type of software will be required by law as early as next year. So we're trying to go ahead and get a jump on that. The purchase order for year one is $6,500. So that's all of our business tonight. I'm happy to answer questions and turn it over to council.
Any one of those generate any questions? If not, I'd be glad to take a motion to approve all at once.
Motion, Mayor.
Connie and Todd, was that a second?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. If there are no questions for Chase, all in favor say aye. Are there any opposed? Thank you.
Y'all very much.
While Chase is on with us, just to mention, I didn't make it a part of my mayor comments. But, Chase and me and his board have been working real hard on a couple of sewer related issues as they might impact some developments, some potential economic developments. And last week was very productive regarding those. Just want to let the council know that we had some real productive meetings and I think moved some of those issues along in a way that'll be very positive. None are ready to announce yet, but I think we've solved some of the sewer related issues so they can move on to other considerations and timing things. So Chase, thank you for you and your board for the way you approach those things.
I think the board did the heavy lifting there, and we just are always eager. It's not the solutions are not always out there, but if we take some time and can work together with the board, with the developer, we can usually come up with a pretty good solution. I think we have.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Mayor?
Yes.
While Chase is here and while we're on the subject of sewer, I'll mention one more thing that we forgot to go over, and that is that we have a tentative groundbreaking scheduled October 1st for the South Sewer project. We're still working out the details of where and what time, but that's the day we've set on the calendars if you want to mark your calendars for that.
Yeah, council, please take note of that. That's a big event as far as we're concerned, and council and the Water Board of Commissioners need to be or should be present if they can.
Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
can I get the votes for GMWSS? I had been kicked off.
It was you. We did do that vote, didn't we? It was unanimous.
We did. I motioned, Todd second, and it was all unanimous.
Okay, thank you.
Boy, that's a danger of Zoom meetings. If you lose your clerk, you lose your official record. Welcome back. So any other questions for Chase?
Thank you all.
Thank you. Under city attorney, item A is first reading of the property tax ordinance that relates to the public hearing we had at the first of this meeting. So Devin, would you like to do the summary?
I sure would. I will read the whole thing, actually. An ordinance providing for and making the real property, personal property, motor vehicle, and water tax levy for city purposes for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2021 and ending June 30th, 2022 inclusive. Whereas the City Council for the City of Georgetown, Kentucky is required by KRS 92.280 to enact by ordinance each year a tax levy on all real property, personal property, motor vehicles, and watercraft. Now therefore be it ordained by the City Council for the City of Georgetown, Kentucky as follows. Section 1, that the following tax levy is hereby made for city purposes for the City of Georgetown, Kentucky for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2021 and ending June 30th, 2022 inclusive, to wit. For the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2021 and ending June 30th, 2022 inclusive, there is hereby made a tax levy of 6.5 cents on each $100 of assessed real property, 6.5 cents on each $100 of assessed personal property, and 16.8 cents on each $100 of assessed motor vehicles and watercraft, which tax proceeds shall be designated to the general fund for the general operation of city government. Section 2. All matters relating to the payment of the taxes imposed on motor vehicles and watercraft hereunder shall be in accordance with KRS Chapter 134.800 at C. Section 3, that upon all taxes for real property and personal property levied herewith, which are unpaid on January 1st, 2022, there shall begin to accrue, attach, and be added from said date a flat penalty of 15% onto the total amount of said taxes then due and payable through January 31st, 2022. After which the flat penalty shall be 20%. Additionally, tax bills not paid before March 1st, 2022 shall have added to them interest at the rate of 1% per month or fraction of a month until said taxes are paid. The penalty and interest as provided herein shall be added to said unpaid taxes and collected by the city finance director and or the city clerk. Should the real or personal property tax herein become delinquent, the city financial officer, the city clerk, and or the city attorney are hereby authorized to file suit to collect all delinquent taxes plus court costs and expenses, including a reasonable attorney fee incurred by reason of the delinquency. Section 4, if any section, subsection, sentence, clause, or phrase of this ordinance is held unconstitutional or otherwise invalid, such infirmity shall not affect the validity of the remaining portions of this ordinance. Section 5, all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict with this ordinance are hereby repealed. Section 6, this ordinance shall take effect after its passage and publication according to law. Publicly introduced and read for the first time, September 13th, 2021.
Thank you, Devin. That will constitute first reading, and we'll anticipate second reading and roll call vote at our next meeting. Also under city attorney, I'm going to lump these together. Items B all the way through G all have to do with the community development block grant that we've received to help with overdue utility bills. So that was the $200,000 grant that we worked with the Bluegrass Area Development District to get. Scott County Fiscal Court received the same grant to help with $200,000 more dollars. And these are all pretty much boilerplate resolutions that would go with any block grant program.
Motion, Mayor, for B through G.
Thank you.
I'll make a second.
Thank you. Second, motion's been made and seconded. Devin would be glad to answer any questions if you have, but these are very routine and straightforward. And if there are no questions, all in favor say aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Thank you. That carries. Well, that takes care of your work pretty quickly, Devin. Under city engineer, we've got accepting streets, 4 different subdivisions, I think. Rocky Creek Farm, you're on, Eddie. What are the 4 that we're doing tonight?
Yes, sir. It's these subdivisions are completed and then constructed. We've punched them out and inspected them, done final inspection. They're Rocky Creek Farm, a section of that, Meadows at Rocky Creek, Abbey at Old Oxford, and Payne's Crossing. And they're small parts of much larger residential developments.
Good.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to accept.
Thank you, Todd.
Second.
And
Willow.
heard Willow for us all, Greg. If there are no questions, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Mayor, before we move on, I have a question about something.
Yes, ma'am.
In Rocky Creek, there's a street called Jonestown or Johnstone Trail. And it's in Rocky Creek, but there's another one of the same name in the Villages of Lanes Run that I was noticing on my MLS. Could Eddie or somebody check that out for sure? I think there's 2 streets that have got the same name.
Yeah, I can check with our GIS people, department at Planning and Zoning, and see if they can do some research on that. What could you repeat one more time the names?
It's Johnstone. It's JOHNSTONE Trail, and it's in Rocky Creek.
Okay.
And it's also in Villages of Lanes Run. Now, it's not to say that somebody couldn't have made a typo error in the MLS, but I was just noticing it the other day and thought I would bring it to your attention.
Well, it's important especially like for 911 and those kinds of things. So I'll check up on that and get back with you what I find out. You're welcome.
Okay. Let's see, item 11 on our agenda, just under dispatch, municipal order declaring item surplus. If there are no questions, I'll accept a motion to declare those items surplus. Tammy,
Motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Will. Motion's been made and seconded that we declare those items surplus. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Thank you, that passes. Item 12 on the agenda under Human Resources is, excuse me, first reading of a personnel ordinance with Ms. Tackett and Ms. Mitchell as sponsors. And what this change to our personnel ordinance does is gives us the possibility to have some interns.
Right, and those were funded in the budget. So this is just to memorialize that under the personnel ordinance and provide those part-time positions that were approved by council. Are you ready?
Yes, ma'am, please.
All right, an ordinance amending section 2-111 of the Code of Ordinances to add 3 part-time seasonal intern positions to general government. Summary. Amend section 2-111C of the Code of Ordinances to add 3 part-time seasonal intern positions to general government. 2, provides for repeal of inconsistent ordinances, severability of provisions, and an effective date upon passage and publication. The full text of ordinance 21-blank is available for examination in the city clerk's office, 100 North Court Street, Georgetown, Kentucky 40324, or at www.georgetownky.gov. Introduced and publicly read for the first time September 13th, 2021.
Thank you. That will constitute first reading, and again, we'll do second reading at our next meeting. Item 13 under police is a municipal order approving their purchase of ballistic shields.
Motion.
Thanks, Tammy. And Karen, with the second. I saw the hand go up. Okay, if there are no questions about those ballistic shields, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Thank you, that carries. Item 14 under Public Works is another municipal order to purchase an end loader. I think your agenda calls it a wheel loader. I asked if we were going to load wheels with it. But actually it's an end loader. It's budgeted. It's something we need.
Mayor, I'll make a.
Go ahead, Todd.
Greg's got it.
Mayor,
Go ahead, Greg. Got it.
We accept the municipal order.
Thank you, Greg. And Todd, was that a second?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed? Good. Well, we moved through a lot of that agenda pretty quickly. Item 15 is going to take us just a few minutes longer. The Public Works Committee and Andrew and Devin and others have done a lot of work with our consideration of what to do with our solid waste, and have worked to develop a process that I think was exhaustive enough and gave us enough information and feedback, both from the vendors about what was possible and how to get the best possible rates, and input from the council before we sent the RFP out, so that we could have as precise an RFP process as we possibly could. And I think that process has paid off. The committee has reported to you previously that we've sent out requests for information. We've gotten that back. We had one RFP earlier, and we got information from that. We were able to gather as much information as we possibly could to bring a recommendation ultimately for the committee to make their recommendation and ultimately bring it on to the council. What we all had hoped would happen in this process, and frankly, what I had come to expect would happen, is that the market is so robust and deep and competitive that market would take care of us when we got to this point in time. And that's exactly what has happened. The presentation that, excuse me, that Greg and Todd have already gone through. Andrew is going to go through a handful of PowerPoint slides with you, just to show you as precisely as we can the proposal that has been put before us, the response that Republic came up with. We had several responses. Republic's response is very strong. Our current monthly rate is $15 per month, and there hasn't been a price increase there for, I don't know, 10 years or longer, I guess. I don't know when the last price increase was. But Republic has given us a bid of $15.68 per month, which will include every other week recycling for every resident of Georgetown. We received 2 bids from one vendor. We received 2 bids from Central Kentucky Landfill and Hauling, and we considered one of those bids. We did not consider the other bid, as it relied on circumstances that were uncertain, and Devin and Andrew can explain that better if you have questions about that. What we hoped is that this process would yield a clear direction for the council to consider. And after discussing it with the committee, I think that's what we found. Todd, Greg, anything before Andrew shows us all those numbers and stuff, anything you'd like to mention about the process or what we've heard?
Todd, I think you muted.
Yes, I did. I think the presentation will provide itself and will show just exactly what the mayor says. It's if it's not now, then I don't know when. But Greg, I'll give you your thoughts on it.
No, Todd, I'll echo your comments. I mean, I think we've been through this, and I think we've come up with a good solution, and I'm looking forward to Andrew showing the council the results of it.
You all see my PowerPoint slide here? Hopefully.
Yes, you can.
All right. Well, good evening, everyone. I will keep this short. If you all have any questions, please stop me. You've seen this slide before when we went over it in council. This is an indication of the fact that the closure of the landfill will change our cost structure and take us from roughly $130,000 in the red to $675,000 and change in the red. I won't spend any more time on that since we went over that extensively at the last time we talked about this. As Mayor said, we issued an RFP after extensive back and forth and questions and an RFI. Our current rates, just as a refresher, are $15 for regular and $8 for senior customers. We took that previous number that I showed you, that budget deficit, and just did a theoretical, what rate would it take to meet that obligation, and assuming that 15% discount that we talked about, you'd have to set our city rates at $17.09 and $14.52 to make up that gap. And that's just a preliminary number. That doesn't include things like extra equipment and capital needs and things along those lines. But as Mayor mentioned, the highest scoring proposal we split it into two alternatives, one with mandatory recycling, curbside recycling, and the other with subscription optional curbside recycling. And the highest scoring bidder was Republic at $15.68 for regular customers and $13.09 for senior customers. So you'll see that a 68-cent increase will get us curbside recycling. The other bid that I've got listed here is the highest scoring bidder if we went with subscription recycling. And I want to note that what we've recommended to the committee and to the council is mandatory recycling. If council desired to go with subscription recycling, we would need to go back and rescore all those bids to take into consideration that factor. But you'll see that subscription recycling really pushed the numbers pretty high, and that was the case across the board. If there's not any questions, I will move on. So these are some of the details that we went over in the public works. Yes.
Can I ask one quick question?
Please do.
On the recycling, is there an upfront fee that a customer would have to pay for a Rosie, or is that included?
It's included.
Excellent. Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. So, as the mayor said, we issued our RFP seeking every other week recycling, and that is after consultation with all of the bidders. They all indicated that would be a cost savings. So the current proposal, the proposal from Republic, is every other week recycling, and that would most likely coincide with the trash day. So you just have to remember every other week to take your recyclables out. And they recycle essentially everything that Lexington will take. They have a contract with Lexington for recyclables, just like everybody else in this region. We actually got upgraded a little bit. We had requested in our RFP once per month pickup of large items like mattress or couch or large table or something like that. They actually will pick it up once per week, most likely again on the same day that trash is set out. If you set out 2 large items, then they would charge you a fee for that, a nominal fee, and that's one of the items that we would negotiate with them.
Andrew, and correct me if I'm wrong, didn't and I cannot remember his name from Republic say that if you did set out a mattress and a box springs, that counts as one item.
That's correct.
Yeah.
A good point, and it's a positive thing. So it's 2 very large items that go hand in hand, right? So, we included in our RFP a 10% franchise fee, and based on the rates that Republic proposed and the breakdown of regular and senior customers, we estimate that we would get about $210,000 in franchise fees, which the city would use to continue its obligations, which are things like brush and leaf collection and other general sanitation efforts. And as we discussed at the council meeting when we went over this, we made this a CPI adjustable rate, or we authorized the proposers to have a CPI adjustable rate. So this is that $15.68 you see would most likely be adjusted each year of the contract for the 5 years of the term. Does anyone have any questions about that or what that means? Okay.
Hey, Andrew?
Yeah.
Quick question. So the city would continue to do all the brush pickup, and what we're thinking is $210,000 would cover the labor cost, fuel cost, equipment cost. And do you think that's enough? What were your all's thoughts or discussion on that number, I guess?
We're hopeful that will cover brush collection and a little more. We already have the equipment to do that. We already have the folks that are doing it, but those are numbers that we're still going to have to work out. So I don't have an answer to that question other than I feel pretty confident that $210,000 would cover that effort alone. How much and for how long and what those details are, that's something that Stacy and I are going to work through before we come back to you for final approval.
So every 1% is what, $21,000 roughly?
Right.
So I guess the 10%, that's an arbitrary number. It's something we could decide could be 11% or 12% or 9%, but 10 was just kind of the landing spot.
Well, we bid it out with 10, and we did so to match what the franchise fee for commercial, which was a recommendation when we consulted with our franchise guru, Linda, that we do our best to try to keep those the same. Not saying that it's impossible that we would change it from 10, but 10 is roughly carved in stone.
Hey, Andrew, if I recall correctly, when you put out a solicitation for information and feedback, I think that was part of the feedback as well, was that we were better off to set a percentage certain in the RFP because that percentage had to be considered when the haulers included pricing. So I think it's pretty much set in stone, like Andrew said, because all of those prices were based on that percentage.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Although, Dave, I think they're right. The answer really and truly is we're not sure. We tried to get some sum of money that would that would help us in that direction. But it wouldn't surprise me that as the city continues to grow, that's not a big enough number. And we end up having to supplement that a little bit with general fund.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of my thought too, Mayor. But at least we're taking the big number off the table that we're losing, which was what, 600 and some thousand, or subsidizing, I guess, 600 and some $1,000 a year. So you can add this on top of it. So really it's a net swing of maybe 800 or 900,000. Does that sound right?
Well, it's certainly a net swing of over 300 when you include the 130 or so that we're in the hole now. It's a theoretical increase, of.
Man, I'm sorry. I was thinking it was like 500,000 or 600,000 that we were in.
That's once the landfill closes. If we continue to operate, yes.
Gotcha. You're right.
And that's the deficit we'd face.
Okay.
And David, that was on an annualized basis. That $600,000 number was what our exposure would be if we hung out there for a year in that condition. We think if this proposal is acceptable to the council tonight and we talk through it, and council is willing to give Andrew and Devin the authority to negotiate the final points of a contract they can bring back to us, we're optimistic that this could begin as early as January 1.
Okay, great. Thanks. All sounds good so far.
Okay.
I have a question. Go ahead, Tammy.
The CPI adjustable rate pertains to the franchise fee, right?
No, I'm sorry. That is to the user rate. So the $15.68.
Okay, so what you're saying there is that they don't have the right to do anything above the CPI.
That's correct.
Okay, excellent. So they wouldn't come in and after the first year and jack up the prices or something like that. We have a safety net there.
Yeah. So in other words, it's the costs to the consumer are controlled throughout the term of the franchise, which is 5 years. And then there are 2 optional 2-year renewal periods, and we would renegotiate what those amounts are at that time or rebid.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
That was my question as well. So thank you.
Okay. I also just heard from Robert, because we got some fine folks on that are paying attention, that it's actually Public Works rather than sanitation that currently collects brush. So those costs are already not part of sanitation. We will definitely have need for that $210,000, but we will not necessarily have to offset costs that are taken up by sanitation today. Does that make sense? Okay.
Andrew, it's Mark. I've got a follow-up question to the question that Tam asked.
Sure.
On the CPI. Do you know just roughly what the CPI has been running each year? What percentage on an annual basis? How much?
In the last 2 or 3 years, let's say it's been anywhere between 1.2 and 2%. And maybe Stacy will have better numbers, but with COVID and the economy, it was higher this year, but it's typically in that mid 1% to around 2%. It used to be 4 or 5, but for a long stretch, it's been around 1%, 1.5%, 2%. Does that help, Mark?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Any more questions? Okay. And the last detail I'll go over is that we structured it so that we would get complimentary waste pickup at all of our city facilities and any special events like the Festival of the Horse, the 4th of July parade. And that'll be one of our negotiating items, is how we work out the logistics of that. We had discussed with the vendor having them provide roll-off dumpsters and have our crew sort of dump bags into the dumpster and have it picked up a certain amount of time. That's the kind of little small detail that we're going to have to work out, but it is covered. We're covered for all of our existing facilities and any facilities that we construct or add or bring into the fold through an interlocal or something along those lines. And I believe we give ourselves the right to add events as well. So the city's continuing obligations under a contract, under a privatization contract, would be the city would maintain the billing, which it's already doing. And we talked in the last meeting about why that was important and the control that gave us and the legal rights that gave us. We talked about the city would continue leaf and brush collection. We talked about the idea that there might be, we asked that the vendors would regularly pick up trash downtown. Right now, our garbage trucks don't drive through downtown and pick up one of those green metal cans. Somebody from Public Works or sanitation walks around, takes the bag out, puts it in a truck and drives it to Public Works. We're asking that they take over that responsibility. But that's another thing that we'll have to sort of fine tune in our negotiation. How does that occur? When, what hours, that kind of thing. But we would probably have to do that during events like Festival of the Horse. And we talked before about our surplus vehicles. We recommended that we did not try to surplus those as part of this RFP because it clouded it and it disadvantaged some of the vendors. So we will organize a surplus sale when we determine which trucks we need and don't need. And hopefully that will also be a substantial influx of cash that will offset some costs for a while. I don't have an estimate of how much that might be, but that's something we will have before we come back to you all for a final approval. Got a lot of information to gather between now and then, and a lot of negotiating and drafting and things of that nature. I think I've just got one more slide, and that is that we talked about the idea of having the hauler hire some of the personnel. If we're going to no longer have a sanitation department, it's going to be a greatly reduced sanitation department. We want to take care of those employees. And between the employees that we keep and the employees that we get the hauler to agree to hire, we believe that will be covered. That is most definitely an item that we will have to negotiate. It's something that we are going to have to wrap our heads around before we can even make any recommendations. And everything else is just going to be general contract terms, things like amounts of insurance, legal language like liabilities and disclaimers and force majeure and all those fun boilerplate things. That's it in a nutshell. There's a lot of details to work out, but we got so much of it handled on the front end through the RFP that and through the process that we had vetting it with council and with the vendors first. We feel like it's pretty much a rock solid proposal that we just have to fill in some gaps. Does anyone have any questions that we can help answer?
I have one more.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you, having met and talked and included Robert in these discussions, are you satisfied that we'll see the same level now if we go with this company?
I couldn't hear what you said, Tammy. I'm sorry.
I heard that in the background. Are you satisfied that we'll maintain and enjoy the same level of service that we currently get if we go
Yes,
with
ma'am, I am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Andrew, I've got one more follow-up question.
Sure.
Just to make absolutely sure I heard what I think I heard earlier in the presentation. If we move forward with this, every current there's not going to be any additional cost for an additional Herbie to any resident of Georgetown if we move forward with this for recycling. Is that correct?
That's correct. That is our understanding.
There will be a cost if you have 2 trash receptacles or 2 recycling receptacles, but the cost of the initial recycling receptacle is included, and so is the trash one.
Also, wanted to mention that commercial roll-off collection of commercial hand cart containers. So that, in other words, those businesses that are using Herbie's is included in this, and the high scoring vendor, Republic, bid the same amounts that is currently the city is currently charging for commercial collection. So if you go to our ordinance and you look at our rate matrix, you have number of carts collected and number of days a week you get it collected, and there's a matrix that their bid is identical to that existing. So those commercial customers will see 0 impact on their bills.
Andrew, will Georgetown Municipal Water and Sewer still bill us?
Did you say, will Georgetown Municipal still do the billing?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Chase. Great
Yes,
question.
thank you, Chase.
It's a great question, Connie. It was really important to the vendors, and I think it allowed them to bid this low, that we could maintain that we're already doing. Also, just want to point out to the council that most of you have either seen your email, but if you have not, make sure and check your inbox. Each of you received an email about 3 hours ago from one of the bidders, and you'll want to make sure you read their letter and that you have time to absorb that. What I would remind the council of is the many meetings that Judge Covington and I had with different vendors early on in the solid waste discussions, when everyone was trying to get their arms around exactly what the scope of this was and what the timeline would be. We began to become more confident that the market competition would take care of our community when the day came for us to make this decision. And I've reported that to council for some time now. And I feel as though the bids that the Public Works Committee is bringing to you tonight is a validation of that, and proof that we're going to be able to provide this service to our citizens at a very reasonable rate, and finally be able to offer them curbside recycling. Every member of this council has wanted to see the day when we would offer curbside recycling, and we're on the cusp of that.
Mayor, can I ask Andrew one more quick question?
Certainly.
That may have been touched on. Assuming that all this goes forward, and it all does sound good to me, just as the mayor had indicated. And you're right, when we've talked about recycling in the past, we've always talked about it having a fee associated with it. And quite honestly, I think, if I recall correctly, in some of the research we did, that fee could have been $3 or somewhere in that range on top of the actual the cost of the 15. So, I mean, then we're at 18 or above. So anyway, it seems very, very good to me. Andrew, how long would the Republic contract, I guess, be in effect? I know that there's escalations tied to the CPI, but what's the term of the agreement?
5 years with 2 optional 2-year renewal periods. So it's 5 years at a minimum and 9 years at a max.
Are those at our option or their option or both options? How does the option work?
Both parties would have to agree to the extensions.
Okay. So after 5 years, then would there be any type of an adjustment, or would it just continue on with the CPI?
We'd renegotiate.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
And if we can't reach an agreement, we'd rebid. If we don't think it's reasonable, we'd have the right to just rebid.
Okay.
Mayor, it sounds all really good. Todd and Greg, is it something that they're bringing for a recommendation after hearing all the proposals? This is the route that we want to move forward with?
Yeah, Connie, I think we've looked at all of our alternatives, and I think this is the best for everyone in the city involved. So yes.
What's the next step, Andrew?
Well, we are simply asking council tonight to sort of give us the nod to go and craft a final proposal, a negotiated contract to present to you all at a later council date. Like I said, we've got a lot of little details to work out, a lot of drafting to do. But we talked with the vendor about that January 1 start date. That's really closer than we want to admit. If we could get this worked out by the second meeting in October, in other words, have had both first and second reading, I think we could meet that. I think past that, and we're cutting it kind of close for them to be able to do all the things that they need to do. We don't have to stick to that January 1 deadline, of course. It's just a nice round number that everybody sort of tentatively agreed on. So our goal would be to get you all to give us the preliminary nod tonight and go back and see if we can craft something that everybody can get on board with, and then have first and second reading of an ordinance awarding a franchise to begin at a future date, presumably January 1.
That answers my questions. Thank you.
I'm nodding in agreement.
Okay.
I'm nodding.
Greg, would you and Todd like to put in the form of a motion that we authorize Andrew to negotiate final terms of the contract?
Absolutely. I'll make the motion for that.
Okay.
I'll second that, Mayor.
Thank you. Motion's been made and seconded. Any questions?
Mayor, my comment, not really a question. I know we mentioned this once before, but I guess if there are any additional Herbies to be purchased, that they would try to blend them in or look like the existing Herbies that we have now, being the green.
David?
Yeah.
Sorry about that, David. One of the things that they said, they will, I don't remember if they said they would take all of them, but I believe they will. Also, they will repair the current Herbies. As long as they can be fixed, they will fix it. Once it becomes irreparable, then they will move and bring in, once the supplies are exhausted, they'll bring in their own Republic Herbies.
Do you know what color those are? I mean, would these be the green?
They're blue.
They're blue.
They're blue.
Go Big Blue.
David, to answer your question, we put that information out there in the RFI. How would, gauge your ability to match our color scheme? And the response we got across the board was, we get all of our stuff on bulk supply from the same manufacturer and the same color, and it's part of our rate structure. It's something we could have insisted upon, but we didn't feel like it was that much of a sticking point.
Well, I don't know. It's not a deal killer, guys, for me by any means, but I don't know. I like consistency. I like things to look nice. Green's a good color. Blue's a good color. I'm definitely a blue fan too, but
we will discuss with them in that point in negotiation and indicate that there was some desire to see that uniformity.
Well, you know what, guys, I'm one of 8, I'm just throwing out my opinion, this is a team effort, but maybe some other folks on the team have the same opinion.
Well, I don't disagree with you, David. When we're downtown, we got the green, our light fixtures, our lights downtown, and just, Kentucky unbridled, that kind of thing. I see where you're coming from, but also understand the rate structure because they buy in bulk, but I don't know. Maybe they can work something out for us.
Yeah, and like Andrew mentioned, I do remember that being part of the response to the RFI, but if you'll note, Republic, that's their company color. So I think we're essentially asking them to change their marketing scheme. So I think there'd be quite a cost associated with that, but we'll certainly bring that up in negotiations.
Thanks, guys.
And Mayor, just to let you know, I did read the letter.
Oh, good. Okay, you've already had a chance to do that. All right. So we have a motion.
Motion and a second. Yeah.
But we have not.
No vote.
Are there any other questions before we do vote?
Mayor, Mayor, if I may, I just first of all, very much give the city staff a pat on the back because we've actually been researching this ourselves because we will have to find a new service for sludge disposal at the landfill and hauling for our wastewater treatment plants. And the ones that we've researched from other communities compared to the one that the city of Georgetown has put out, they're like night and day different with respect to due diligence. And I was just going to let council know that you can expect a similar service agreement coming from Georgetown Municipal to the council for sludge disposal, hauling and disposal at the landfill. So,
thank you, Chase. If there are no further questions on this very important topic, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
And my special thanks to Public Works Committee that has Public Works doesn't always get the heavy load, but here lately they have. So let's see, that takes us down to item 16. Andrew, can you give us full screen again? Thank you. Now I can see everybody. Time for council comments. And I'm just going to run through the screen as you're up here. Who is the Galaxy S21 5G? No.
That's me, Mayor. Robert, yeah.
Oh, okay. Hi, Robert. Karen?
Only had one. I had someone contact me, and they were downtown during the Festival of the Horse looking for the rain barrels. 4 people wanted to sign up for rain barrels, and they said they couldn't find them. So maybe I direct that to Tammy to answer that question about the rain barrels. Where do I need to send them to? Who do they need to contact?
They need to contact Eddie Hightower. They were down in front of the museum. I went down and purchased one. We had a few purchased, but they can find anything they need to know by contacting Eddie Hightower.
And we still have some left for them to purchase.
We sure do.
Okay, I'll pass it on. And that's it. It was a beautiful weekend. Lots of activities in Georgetown. Festival of Horse was, and everybody worked so hard on it, and went to the Cephaletta Park, took the dog up there for the Paws in the Water event, and people were really enjoying that. So people were out and about in Georgetown this weekend. It was a nice weekend. And that's it.
Thank you. David?
You're unmuted now, David.
Hello. Then you all heard my wife call me a dumbass, didn't you? Is that what we're talking about? Joy, thanks. Well, she's still in COVID recovery and she's a little delirious right now.
No one heard her. You're the one who said it now.
Oh my gosh. Lost my train of thought. I was going to say something really wisdom. Anyway, Mayor, I guess I want to thank you and Andrew and Devin. I know you all worked on the Republic issue as well, and that's a big deal. I'm glad the rest of you all are muted right now. But no, in all seriousness, Joy and I, we are recovering from COVID. We're on the tail end of it. We both went back to work today. So I've probably missed some emails and I apologize for that. So if anybody's got anything urgent, feel free to shoot me a text, give me a call, or try another email. But anyway, we'll leave it at that. I'm gonna try to mute myself right now. All right. Thank you.
Welcome back, David.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor.
Willow.
Yeah, I have a couple things. I wanted to thank Public Works. I've been getting emails about the cleanup at the Royal Spring Park, and prior to Festival of the Horse, they got out there and got the poison ivy and the brush and everything off of the deck area and other places. So it looked real nice for the festival. So a big thank you to that. And I hope people enjoyed being able to walk around there. I did want to mention, though, that the United States flag that is there at the Royal Spring Park is totally faded, ripped, and torn. It even has holes in it. I don't know who replaces the flags. Is it the VFW or... But it needs to be properly disposed of and replaced.
Okay.
Well,
that's important. Thank you, Willow.
Yeah, I don't know who does that or is in charge of that, but I think that's important. And I have been getting some people contacting me about the ARPA funds, and if Chief Bossy is still on, they're wondering if it's still a priority and if some of those funds might be able to be used to move forward the concern for cameras.
And the answer is yes, we think it can, and we don't think we're in a position to move forward on it immediately, Willow, but maybe that horizon is getting a lot closer.
Okay, I'll let them know that that's still a possibility to use those funds in that way. We're acutely aware that the county's already taken the step, and we intend to do so. Okay. One other thing, I was listening intently to President Biden's proposals, his 6 pillars of COVID mandates and recommendations. And Devin, I was wondering if any of those 6 pillars are going to affect the city employees of Georgetown.
Thank you for asking that. Actually, I was just talking to both Andrew and Megan about it the other day. So we're working on kind of dissecting that guidance right now. Some of it's clear and some of it's not. So hopefully by next meeting we can kind of have more indication of how that will impact city government here. But we are looking into that. Yep.
Okay, thank you. So you'll let us know.
Absolutely.
All right, and that's it. Thank you. I was excited about the possibility for the safe haven boxes. I think that's a great idea.
Good. Thank you, Willow. Connie?
Oh, thank you, Mayor. It was a good meeting tonight. Good job, Public Works Committee, on bringing us all that information. Andrew and Devin, appreciate you guys. I've been kind of under the weather a little bit myself all weekend. I didn't get to go to Festival of the Horse. I stayed in. But I did go to the doctor today and get COVID tested, so I won't know anything till tomorrow. But I did get a Z-Pack. I don't want to try to self-medicate or do myself anymore because of everything that's going on. So I try to be safe about that. So I'll be hanging around the house tomorrow for a little bit till I hear back from my doctor. But just wanted to give you a heads up on that. And also, I do want to give you heads up that Devin, myself, and Nick and Eddie have really been diligently working on our traffic ordinance, and we've been meeting regularly. So we're moving on that bet. We're better than we were, right, Devin? And that's it, Mayor. I just wanted to say that, and thanks everybody.
Thanks, Connie. Hope you keep feeling better.
Thank you.
All right. Tammy?
Just one thing to add. I did get contacted this weekend. It's a weird situation, and I did get an answer from Eddie about it. So I thought I would share it with you in case you get these questions. Someone complained that the light bulbs in the street lights downtown were not the same, and it didn't look good. So I talked with Eddie about that. They just kept on and on about it. Eddie said that as we replace them, we are using different light bulbs, but eventually they all will be the same. But as we're in the process of changing those out, you will see some differences in the brightness. So maybe I can give you all an answer in case you get a call like that. That's it.
Boy, thank you. So the street lights were different colors.
One some brighter than others, and it just didn't look cohesive at the Festival of the Horse.
Okay. Thank you. Let's see. That drops me down to Mark.
Mayor, I completely lost my train of thought after some comments made earlier, so I'm good.
All right. Thank you. Greg?
Thanks, Mayor. Great meeting tonight, and just one comment. I guess I've had a couple of questions about the painting of the lines downtown for the streets. Have you heard anything on that?
I have not. Apparently the paint shortage is still going on. And we've confirmed that that's the issue. They're ready to do it. They don't have the supplies to do it.
Great. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Let's see, Todd.
No, sir, I'm good. I will be contacting you about the steering committee and also about the subdivision regs. Any update on that?
Well, Todd, the planning and zoning, or Joe Kane, made a presentation to the Scott County Fiscal Court 10 days ago. And we were supposed to invite the council to that presentation. And we did not notice the meeting as a legal meeting. So we asked folks to tune into that if they could watch that fiscal court workshop. And I thought Joe Kane's presentation was pretty helpful. It's on their YouTube channel. And if you can watch that, Joe's part was not that long, but he gave some really good background on the process and where we are with comprehensive plan. And if that doesn't give us all the information we'd like to have, he said he'd be glad to come make that same presentation to the council. So that's still available to us if you don't see what you wanted to on the fiscal book.
Okay. And I think that's it.
All right, thank you. If that includes all of our agenda, if there's nothing else to come before the council, then we will stand adjourned. Thank you all.
Night, everyone.
Night, everyone.